We begin now at the top of Daf Chav Dalet Amud Beis Meseches Shabbos. This is Shabbos Daf 24b. The Gemara says, "V'les hilchasa kechol hanishmaita." The halacha is not like the sugyas that we said before. Ela ki hadam Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rather, the halacha follows Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Take a look at Rashi. Kechol hanishmaita. Rashi says, "Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, Rav Gidol, Rav Achdav." All of those different Amoraim. The halacha is not like them. Ella kitfila achas kachaverta. Rather, just like every other tefillah of that day, so too comes this extra, let's say, musaf tefillah would have the same halacha l'chol dvar hayom hamasker. Anything that's happening that day would be mentioned in every tefillah, even if, let's say, Chanukah doesn't cause us the same musaf. For example, you would still say al hanisim of Chanukah during the musaf if you're talking about Rosh Chodesh, which is also Chanukah. So that is the halacha. You mention it in every single tefillah of the day. Ela ki hadam Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, like Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, Yom HaKippurim shechol liyos b'Shabbos. Let's say Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos. Hamispalel ne'ilah tzarich lahazkir shel Shabbos. The person who's davening ne'ilah needs to also mention Shabbos in ne'ilah. Why? Yom shenes chayiv ba'arba tefillos, because it is a day which is chayiv in all four tefillos. It doesn't matter that you're not saying Ne'ilah because of Shabbos. As long as you're saying Ne'ilah that day and you're mentioning Shabbos in every other tefillah, you mention Shabbos in Ne'ilah as well. So the Gemara says, Kasha hilchasa hilchasa. 1 second. If the halach is that you mention in every single tefillah, that's a kasha of one halach against the other, because Amrit hilchasa Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, you're saying over here that the halach is like Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, yet v'kaimal on hilchasa karava. We know that the halach is like Rava in a similar case where we don't say that. The Yomar Rava, because Rava says, Yom Tov shechol liyos b'Shabbos. If Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, Shliach Tzibur hayored lefnei hateva, the Shliach Tzibur who's davening, Arvis, during Ma'ir of Eino tzarech lahazkir shel Yom Tov. You don't need to mention Yontiv in, we're talking about here when you're saying Mogen Avos. This is on a Shabbos, Friday evening, so you say Mogen Avos after Shmona Esrei. It's kind of like a shortened and abridged Chazar Sashatz. You don't need to mention Yontiv in Mogen Avos. Why not? Shel Mole Shabbos ain't Shliach Tzibur Yored Arvis B'Yontiv, because if not for Shabbos, the Shliach Tzibur wouldn't be saying this on Yontiv. There's no Mogen Avos for Yontiv. It only exists for the Ma'irav of Shabbos night. So you don't need to mention it. You don't need to mention Yontiv in Mogen Avos. So the Gemara says, Hachi Hashta. What kind of comparison is this? Hasam bedinu dafila b'Shabbos nami lo tzarch. When it comes to saying Mogen Avos, that actually, even on Shabbos, you really wouldn't have needed to say it. V'Rabbanan hu detekune mishum sakana. The only reason we say it is because the Rabbanan said you should say it to prevent sakana. Rashi will explain. But over here, Yom shenes chayiv b'arba tefillos. In all the other cases we have, it is a day of 4 tefillos, and therefore in every single tefillah you mention the appropriate day. Rashi explains what's the sakana, mishum sakana, mazikin, mishum sakanas mazikin, because of demons. Shelo hayu bate knasiyos shalan b'yishuv. Their shuls in the old times, they weren't in the settled areas. V'chol shar leile hachol hayu asukin b'malachton, uv'gemaran malachton mispalin arvis bevesan. All other days of the week, they actually used to daven ma'irav in their house after they worked. V'lo hayu boyin bebeis hakneses. They didn't come to shul. Avolele Shabbos, but when it came to Friday night, boyin bebeis hakneses, they would come to shul. V'chashu sheyesha in memarin lava v'shoin lachar tefillah. There was a concern that some people would come right away, they would end up being delayed, and they would stay after. They'd have to go home alone, and so then they would be in danger of these mazikin. Lakach herichu tefillas hatzibur. Therefore, on Friday night specifically, they lengthened the tefillas hatzibur. They added in this Mogen Avos prayer, this abridged Chazar Sashatz, and really, it didn't really shouldn't even exist Friday night for Shabbos either. So therefore, certainly you wouldn't mention Yontiv in there if Shabbos falls out on Yontiv. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah v'lo ba'alya v'chulu. It said not with alya, and then it said there's a whole machlokus about chaylev, whether you can't use chaylev, whether you can't use chaylev mavushal or chaylev that's not mavushal. So the Gemara asks, Chachamim hainu Tanakama. Aren't the Chachamim saying the same thing as the Tanakama? Rashi explains that it sounds like both the Chachamim and the Tanakama say you cannot use any chaylev, whether it's mavushal or not. Nachum Hamadi in the Mishnah said that you could be madlik with chaylev mavushal, but the Chachamim and the Tanakama seem to agree that you cannot. So the Gemara answers, Ika benayu to Rav Bruna Amarav v'lo Mesaimi. They are arguing about the halacha of Rav Bruna in the name of Rav, but we don't know which one says which. So we saw before that Rav Bruna says that if you add in a little bit of kosher oil into the mixture, it's okay. So that's going to be the machlokas Chacham and Tanakama. What if you would add a little bit of good oil into this chaylev mavushal? Would it be okay or not? And that is going to be a machlokas between again Tanakama and the Chacham, but we don't know who says what. Mishnah now continues. Ein madlikin b'shemen sreifa b'yamtiv. This is a halacha we quoted earlier. You're not allowed to use shemen sreifa on yamtiv. Again, shemen sreifa is shemen of truma tameya, which was meant to be burned. You can't use that on yamtiv. Rabbi Yishmael says ein madlikin be'itran b'mnei kavod haShabbos. You can't use itron because it's not honorable for Shabbos. Itron is the junk of the zephys. Essentially, it's tar. It's the junk from pitch. So that you can't use it because it smells bad and it's not a good kavod Shabbos. The Chacham matir, and the Chacham say it's okay. B'chol hashmanim, with all oils. B'shemen shumshimin, it's okay to use sesame oil. B'shemen agozim, with oil from nuts. B'shemen snodas, with oil from radishes. B'shemen dugim, with oil from fish. B'shemen pakuos. Radishes pakuos is a kind of gourd that grows in the midbar. Be'itron uveneft, and not only that, like we said before, they allow itron. Again, itron is the psolas of zephys. They say that's fine, the tar is fine, and they also say neft. They also say kerosene is fine as well. Rabbi Tarfon says ein madlikin ela b'shemen zayis b'lavad. The only type of oil you should use on Shabbos is olive oil. The Gemara says, my time, what's the reason? Why can't you why can't you use shemen sreif on yantiv? Lefisha ein sarfin kachim b'yantiv. You're not allowed to burn kachim on yantiv. How do we know that this is the case? Amar Chizkiya v'chein tana devei Chizkiya. Chizkiya says, and was also taught in the yeshiva of Chizkiya as follows. Amar Kra, the pasuk says, v'lo so siru mimenu ad boker. Don't leave it over until morning. V'hano so mimenu ad boker. And then it says the leftover in the morning you should burn. She'ein ta'am aloma ad boker. It doesn't need to repeat the words until morning. Ma ta'am aloma ad boker. Why does it say that? Bra kostav litin lo boker sheni l'sreifaso. It's to tell you that you really shouldn't burn it until the morning of Chol HaMoed, right? So Rashi explains, the idea is, Rashi says, Boker Sheni Shu Chol HaMoed, V'achi Mashma, V'anosr Mimenu L'Boker Rishon, anything left over on Yontif to the first morning, Ad Boker Sheni, Himtinu V'tisrafu. Don't burn it until Boker Sheni, meaning on Yontif you should not be burning this kachim, this noser on Yontif. Gemara says, the Gemara now brings another source. Abaye says, Amar Kra Ola Shabbos b'Shabbato. It says that you bring the Ola of Shabbos on its proper Shabbos. V'lo Olas Chol b'Shabbos, v'lo Olas Chol b'Yontiv. You can't have a weekday carbon on Shabbos or a weekday carbon brought on Yontiv. So the same basic idea, Rashi says, Olas Chol kagon Evari Tamid shel Erev Yontiv shelo huktur mibod Yom. For example, let's say you had the Evarim of a Tamid of a weekday Tamid. Ein malin osan mishachashecha v'kol sheken kachim psulim lo sarfina. You can't burn those once it becomes Shabbos or Yontiv, and certainly you can't burn kachim psulim. Certainly you will not be allowed to burn that as well. Gemara now brings a third source. Rava says, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Hu levado yeyasa lachem. It says, it's talking about ochel nefesh. Anything for ochel nefesh you can do on Yontiv. So we make a drasha, hu velo machshir. Number one, you can only do things that are for actual food preparation purposes, but not to prepare something that's in order to prepare the food. So, for example, you won't be allowed to create a knife on Yontiv in order to create food. That's machshirin. Levado, and says levado velo mila shelo bezmana the asya b'kal v'chomer. You're not allowed to have a bris milah, not in the proper time, not on the 8th day on Yontiv, because otherwise it would have come from a kal v'chomer. Now Rashi explains what the kal v'chomer would have been, why we would have thought mila shelo bezmana could have been doche Shabbos, and we're not going to go through that entire Rashi, but Rashi says, Umemela Shaminan. From this we learn, Umemela Shaminan Mina, we learn from this, the mitzvah she'ein zmana kavua, something which is not the kavua zman for this mitzvah, the yachol la'asos alamacha, and it could be done the next day, so that's like Mila Shelo Bizmana, ein a docha yomtiv, it would not be docha yomtiv, hu adin l'sreifas kachim tameim. The same would be true by burning kachim tameim, certainly could be done a different time, it doesn't need to be done on yomtiv, so we learn out, just like Mila Shelo Bizmana, Mana cannot be done on Yontif, can't be done on Shabbos either. So too, you cannot have the burning of kachim tameim. Rav Ashi says Shabbos Shabboson. It says in the pasuk Shabbos Shabboson, and we will continue with Rav Ashi's drasha in the next video on Daf Chaf Hey Amud Aleph.